All right, 3, 2, 1. What's up, fam? It's your boy Demuir here, purveyor of all sounds underground. Thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel today, where I'll be discussing the topic of going independent or going to the high profile label route to get noticed. It's a question I'm often asked, especially from new to, I guess, intermediate producers. And I have a number of thoughts on this one, but before I jump into things, what I need from you is that SLC. Hit subscribe, like, comment, and more importantly, hit the notifications bell to stay in touch with the new videos that we have up and coming. All right, so let's jump into this. Should you go the independent route versus getting signed to high profile, and I put in quotes, high profile labels in order to get noticed? So I'm going to share a few points here and leave it with you to decide. I do find it interesting, however, that a lot of artists, especially as they get post the 5-year mark or greater, lean towards an independent route for a number of different reasons within their experience. And I'm kind of in the same boat. So I'm just going to share with you a few pieces that you need to keep in mind and just wrap it in some context. And I'm certain we're going to have even more discussions about this one post this video. So point number one, I think the most important thing to consider here, especially if you are a new artist looking to make a mark, is the fact that when it comes to control, be prepared to relinquish a lot of it. If you want to go the route of getting on a high profile label to then get notice and then subsequently get bookings, like that is the motto that managers have been preaching for eons and saying that is the thing that works, and for the little measly compensation of 15 to 20%, that's what you need to do to get there. And I'm here to tell you that not necessarily. So in the beginning, this is a point I absolutely believed in because I just didn't know. I was returning to music, and that was the business strategy. Blow up your SoundCloud profile, now blow up your Spotify or Apple Music profile in some cases. Give them your best music with really shitty terms, and you should get put on and booked for shows. And I'm here to say, after having a healthy balance of getting on some higher profile labels, the reality is that not all labels will do that for you. Not all labels will put you on and say, yeah, because you gave us a very hot track, we're going to put you on these shows. A lot of labels, like people, look out for themselves, and they cultivate and build their own fan base and give them what they believe they need. You giving content to the label is just a part of that business model, but it doesn't necessarily mean they owe you anything. So you're relinquishing control in a sense where you are leaving yourself susceptible to the label and management and other people telling you, make the track sound like this so it gets signed and recognized and played out a lot and added to different streaming playlists, blah, 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 blah. So I'm here to tell you, if you want to go down that road, be prepared to participate in that degree of bullshit. And the other thing I want to add to point number one is the fact that from a cost perspective, everything is recoupable. So you can sign to a great label that does vinyl and it's really cool with the artwork, and they say, hey, here are some decent terms for you, and they might even throw you an extra 10% when it comes to the net, I guess, revenue that is available. But be prepared that you will be giving up some recoupable expense, meaning you owe the label money before they pay you. So if the artwork is astronomically high, you're going to pay for all of that. If the promo is crazy high, you're going to pay for all of that as well. Meanwhile, the label continues to build and cultivate their fan base based on your music at your financial expense. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's just part of how the music industry works. Just be prepared to relinquish that level of control when it comes to your music, and allowing the label in some cases to own it for over 20 plus years. All right, and point number 2, the other watch out here is just the reality if you're going down the big label profile route versus independent, is there's just not going to be any real substantial advances. I think most deals today are what I would call a licensing deal, where you're giving the label the right to distribute your music over a number of years exclusively, and of course you retain ownership of the masters. But some deals say not only will you allow us to do that, but we'll get a piece of your publishing. We want a favorable split on the sales, and they believe that that makes sense for whatever amount of effort they're putting into your release. It's just things to think about, and that's the reality of it. And just to add to this point, if the label does indeed give an advance, and I've done a few deals like this, but when money is involved and they say, here's your money up front, the label is determined to get it back in some way, shape, or form. And what I mean by that is they can give you money as a straight buyout, which is most of the types of deals I do for remixes, because it's just one and done. The parts were never mine to begin with. They can own the master, and I'm cool with that because I got paid to do a job, and that's my approach to handling remixes. However, when it comes to original work, if a label says, yeah, here is $2,000, they expect to recoup all of that money back with interest. And the way they'll do that to you is by creating longer, outrageous terms in the contracts that you just have to be comfortable with and say to yourself, is it worth it or not? Even though the label might not necessarily promise you any gigs or get you on any certain platforms on an ongoing basis, you need to decide if that makes sense to you as a new artist. And that's just one example, but I'm just here to say if money is exchanged, the label absolutely expects to make that money back tenfold. And point number 3 is I would call a common denominator point, which is cultivating your fan base. Both you and the label will always have an interest in cultivating your fan base, because the advantage to the label is that they can get people turned on to their catalog, and it's actually the same for you. Cultivating your fan base means you're going to get a lot more people supporting your music on an ongoing basis. So if you're putting effort there, it's great for both of you guys involved. However, I do want to say that you need to think about this point. If you're going to put that much effort into cultivating your fan base anyway and giving strong music to a label as well, just make sure the terms are well balanced. And what I mean by well balanced is that it's a bit of give and take. So if a label's doing some really great promo, then I think it's reasonable to say, okay, I'm going to allow you to distribute my music for at least the next 5 to 7 years, so to speak. If they are actually quite confident that they can give you a gig on top of the release you're doing with them, along with other promotional opportunities that help you cultivate and build your fan base, I would say that is a tremendous opportunity. But make sure you're not giving up too much of who you are in the deal to be able to get there. With people's attention spans now, I don't really think too strongly or have the wherewithal necessarily to go for longer term deals. I just don't see the value in it. I can do as much work on promotion every day on myself to grow my fan base on different channels, whereas a label will only do it for you for a moment in time because they got other releases, rightfully so, that are coming that they need to promote. So just think about those things and you decide what makes sense for you, whether it's to continue going down that high profile label route or going independent. And point number 4, I'm going to summarize this as not chasing the look. Do not chase the look, chase the opportunity. I've had management or previous management before. They're always so fucking concerned about the look of what this label is doing, what this guy is doing, and as a result, how it would appear in terms of perceptions. And I get it with social media and things like Instagram and people appearing to be doing all of these things and living their lives a certain way. I can get how that can permeate itself into the culture of underground electronic music. But it's your art, and you can continue to make money from it after the term of your deal is done. So why would you wrap yourself up in a moment in time and say, oh, so cool, I need to get on that label because that guy's hair is so cool and he gets all the bookings because he wears black all day? It's fucking ridiculous when you think about it. What is the most sustaining factor in all of this is just the fact that you put out great music. And we have technologies in place today that reward creators for doing so. I'm a testament to that. I can say I do this full time, and the pandemic has kind of been great to me in that respect. But you know, you need to think about what makes sense for you. But I'm just telling you from the perspective of having done this for many years and standing back and evaluating things, the independent route would make the most sense, because it is only there where people will talk to you about the opportunity, the people you work with, and you will be focused on creating the opportunity for yourself independently. Whereas most labels are so keen and focused on just grabbing the next hot track and the next hot release. They simply do not have the bandwidth to do things like artist development and make sure you knock it out of the park each and every time. They'll give you a couple of shots and that's it. And point number 5 is just the fact that independence comes with some real work attached to it. It's not an immediate gratification sort of thing. You just won't get there on day one. It's probably more like year 3 or year 5 if you're consistent and disciplined and put out really great music and cultivate a loyal fan base that will reward you as such. That's the reality of it. But I could say for me, in my own experience, that it's been well worth it and very satisfying for me to be able to achieve these things just with really good music, and doing it independently more and more, and satisfying people with exclusive content and exclusive music that you continue to own the masters and publishing for outright is very gratifying for me. And what I'm starting to see is different agents and promoters start to see that as well. They're just looking at how you're impacting people that will come to these events to see you at the end of the day, and not necessarily the label. And there you have it. Those are my thoughts on independent versus signing to big labels to get noticed. Let me know your thoughts on this one. I usually join the conversation within 48 hours of posting these videos, so let me know what's up. Much love and respect to you. Peace.